tired of spending hours trying to create the perfect visuals for your brand or project? Imagine being able to generate jaw-dropping images like what you just saw in seconds, using nothing but a few carefully crafted prompts. Welcome to Flux AI, the tool that's changing the game for content creators and entrepreneurs who need stunning visuals fast. In this video, I'll show you how to unlock its full potential and even compare it to Leonardo AI. Plus, if you want my full prompting tips and tricks guide to getting the most out of Flux Fast, Flux Realism, and Flux 1.1 Pro, stick around till the end to find out how you can get a free copy today. So, let's talk about Flux, a generative AI art tool developed in Germany that offers several powerful versions for creating stunning visuals. If you've been following our channel, you know we've used Flux in past videos, like our recent Hydra video where we tested Flux Schnell, which means fast in German, and Flux Plus Realism for realistic renders, or in the Grok video where we learned that Black Forest Labs' Flux was behind the amazing image generation for Grok's visuals. There are a few ways to access this tool, but today we're going to use Flux through my FreePik access to test its image generation skills, pick up some expert prompting tips, and create some really cool tech-themed enchantresses perfect for my upcoming Halloween projects. So now that we know what Flux is, let's get started generating together. To get started with Flux AI through FreePik, you'll want to click on the Start Creating from the top navigation bar and then select AI Generated Images. You'll then be taken to the creation page where you can hit this Create right here. But another way to access it is by simply scrolling down on the home page of FreePik until you find the AI Image Generator button. Either way, it's quick and easy to get there. Now let's dive into the basics of creating your first image. You'll see a prompt box here, and this is where the magic happens. Prompting with as much detail as possible is ideal, especially when using the Flux generators. The more descriptive you are, the more control you have over the final image. This is particularly important if you don't have AI prompt enabled, which can help guide you if you need it. Once you've entered your prompt, you can come down here to where it has the mode, and this is where you can choose your generation system that you want to use, the version of Flux. So you can see here that they have 4 different versions available. They've got the Flux 1.1 Pro, which you can see here is in beta, but it is unmatched for quality. So this is your faster generation, more pure precision, it says. Flux Fast combines speed with high quality. Flux is optimized for quality, best for prompt adherence, and good with text. So we will take a look at that later on in the video, how the text in here is comparing with the text from Leonardo's Phoenix model. And then the Flux Realism, which is best at the ultra realistic photos. So if you're doing a lot of like ad work and things where you need really photorealistic people and scenery, Flux Realism is ideal for that. I do want to note though that FreePik runs on a credit system. So you'll see up here at the top that you can see how many credits you have left in this little circle. If you click on it, it will tell you how many images you have left in the various generators. And you can see if you hit see more what the actual credit usage is when generating on the different generators. So for example, the Flux 1.1 Pro is the high end here. So it is going to cost 120 credits per image versus the Flux Fast, which is only 5 credits an image. So important to note that if you're going in to generate and you're trying to be cautious with your credits. For the example I'm going to run first on this one, I'm just going to go ahead and go with the Flux Realism so we can take a look. You'll notice that underneath the mode, there's the size. So you can choose your aspect ratio here. So you can go like for a social media post on the 1:1, or you could do like a real size on the 9:16. Or what we're going to do today is the 16:9. And then under that, you've got some style, color, lighting, and camera options. I'm going to go into detail on all of those here in just a bit, but for right now, we're just going to leave those as they are. And then you choose how many images you want generated. So, since I'm using the Flux Realism and it does cost more than 5 credits per image, I'm just going to go down to 1 so that we can see here what we're going to get generated. So, the next thing we need to do is hit the generate button and watch. I'm leaving this in real time because I want you guys to see how quickly it is generating these images. I mean, it is lightning fast, guys. Seriously, that it's done before I was even done talking to you. So let's go ahead and take a look here at how it did. So if we look at our prompt was a mesmerizing artistic portrait of a mystical enchantress. Okay, check on that. Cloaked in a futuristic high tech robe that shimmers with an ethereal iridescence against a dark, starry night sky backdrop. Okay, so I see some iridescent shining on this. It does look like it could be a high tech cloak there. She is against the dark, starry night. The enchantress's face is a vision of elegance with porcelain skin, piercing emerald green eyes, and raven black hair. Okay, so let's take a look. Porcelain skin, check. If I zoom in here, which I can do using the little button down here, the slider bar at the bottom, we can see emerald green eyes, raven black hair. Her features are delicate yet powerful, with high cheekbones and a small nose, accentuated by a subtle, enigmatic smile. The wizard's robe is a marvel of modern magic, adorned with intricate, swirling patterns that seem to shift and glow with otherworldly energy, complete with metallic accents that reflect the faint light and distant stars. The overall atmosphere is one of mystique and wonder, as if the very fabric of reality is about to unravel before our eyes. So if you just read that prompt and you think there's no way I can prompt like that, you're wrong. I'm going to be giving you at the end of this video my own tips guide for prompting better in all of these Flux generator versions. So be sure you stick around until the end to find out how you can get your copy of that today for free. But if we take a look here, you can see the robe does have the swirling patterns that was indicated in the prompt there. Overall, I'm extremely impressed by the prompt adherence on this image here. It definitely has the otherworldly glow, especially down here from where the smoke is emanating. It has kind of that bokeh background effect to it that makes it look like it really is a photorealistic image here. Great detail. I'm very impressed by this. If I wanted to upscale this image, you can do that in this system right here. The upscale for a large upscale is 210 credits, I believe, right now. So it is rather expensive to upscale in here on your images, but it is completely possible to do that in here. So now that we've seen how that image comes out on the Flux Realism, let's just hop back over into the mode and run it on each one of the other 3 generators so that we can see the difference here. So we'll bump it down to Flux, and you see that when I change the mode, it changes the number of images. So it's important to always make sure you're generating the right number of images that you want done. And then it is still set on the style here for photo because I had that realism selected, and photo automatically is chosen when realism is selected. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off so that we can see the system's actual interpretation here. So we'll generate this Flux one, and then we'll go ahead and generate a Flux Fast version. And again, we'll knock that back down. And then we will also do the Flux 1.1 Pro here. So if we come back and we take a look at just the Flux version, we can see again the porcelain skin there, the emerald green eyes, the high cheekbones, the small nose, the raven black hair, the high-tech cloak, the starry sky behind her. Amazing prompt adherence still. This image is a little bit less magical than the first one, and not quite as realistic as what that first one was, but that's to be expected. Then we've got our Flux Fast here. So for a 5 credit generation, this is really good for ideation. So, first of all, I could take this image over into Leonardo and just run it through the upscaler, and it would be an awesome image to use as like a character lip sync or something like that. If I wanted to do that, to download this image, all I have to do is hit the little download button here, and you have two choices. You can download it or you can upscale and download at the same time. So I am going to go ahead and hit the upscale and download.
Bring characters to life with the magic of generative AI.
And then next we have the Flux 1.1 Pro here. So if we take a look, definitely added a lot more creativity to the scene. More swirls and jewels and kind of that high tech vibe to her cloak or her robe here. Still has the raven black hair, the high cheekbones, the emerald green eyes, although they are glowing in this one, which I like a lot. The background definitely has more of that starry cosmic feel to it that I was looking for. So overall, this one was 120 credits for this image here, which is, I mean, it's amazing. How fast that was generated, how well that adhered to my prompt is absolutely amazing. So now that you've seen how to create the image, let's compare these images that I can create using the Flux 1.1 Pro to what I'm creating over in Leonardo on the Phoenix foundational model. Because if you follow the channel, you know that that is predominantly the image generation system that I personally use in my work. So I want to see how this compares and whether or not it's kind of like, do I need both of them? Are they providing two different outcomes for me that might be something that I could use in my work? Or am I really just being redundant by having both systems if they're coming out very similar in quality and overall aesthetic for the image? So I think comparison is an important part, especially when you're deciding which AI image generators you're actually paying to use. And remember, this is just my opinion, the prompts that I use. So do your own research, figure out what works for you. But I'm just hoping that I can kind of save you some time in seeing what the comparison is side by side here. So I've put together 3 prompts that are pretty neutral and will work with both systems fairly well. So I'm going to go ahead and just take the 3 prompts that I have, and I'm going to come on over into FreePik and paste those in here. I'm going to leave the AI prompt off. I will say I've noticed that when the AI prompt is on, it does create much more diverse variations. So I've seen a lot of different skin tone colors that have come out. I've seen a lot of different combinations of like hair and eyes. So instead of just the standard like blonde hair and blue eyes, sometimes I get blonde hair and brown eyes, which is pretty amazing. Lots of different creativity and diversity in those images when you put in a simple prompt and let it kind of take over. But my prompts are crafted here to come out the way that I need them for the project that I'm working on. So I am just going to go ahead and leave that off for this example here. And I'm going to use the Flux 1.1 Pro to generate all 3 of them. So we've got this first one, and I've got the second one, and I've got the third one. So, coming in to check it out real quick, here's the first one, which was supposed to be the tech enchantress and a wizard together. So, you can see it made kind of that ancient old wizard there. Definitely needs to be upscaled. It's a little blurry, like in the face here. Her eyes are kind of whited out. Same with his eyes are a little whited out there. Background's a little hazier than I would like it to be. Not as much clarity as I was hoping for coming out of that image, but overall aesthetically it is very nice, and once it's upscaled, I think it will look really good. She's got the right amount of fingers here, which is nice on her hand on his shoulder there. And then here we can see once I did upscale it, what it actually looked like and how it came out. So if you think about going from the first draft of your creation to the actual finished product. There is a little bit of tweaking that goes on in the AI art if you're wanting high quality images to come out. Now, I've seen a lot of AI art out there and not doing any of the post creation work to it. And honestly, it just is not to the standard that I was hoping to see AI art being created. But let me know in the comments what you think. If there's a lot more junk out there in our community, or if people are starting to catch on and actually improving the quality of the AI art after the generators are putting out the basic image. Here we go with the next one, which was supposed to be more of the illuminated, glowing image, kind of more of like the orbs around her, vibrant colors, more atmospheric. You can see all of that in the prompt here. She definitely has the glowing halo that I had prompted for in there, the glowing eyes. A little bit of an issue here with an extra finger in between and kind of a crooked hand here. But in post editing, again, that would be cleared up and we would end up with an image that looked more like this one. Overall, the look of this is beautiful. I love the glow. This is very reminiscent to me of if I were to use Leonardo AI with the glow wave element on, but without having to apply any styles to it. And finally, we have our mesmerizing artistic portrait of the mystical enchantress. And in this one, it was supposed to pull in iridescent blues and purples. We were supposed to have the porcelain skin with the dark metallic background. I wanted her to have blue eyes. So we can see by taking a look at this, it is a very dreamy image. She does have those blue eyes. Look at the detail and the quality here in the eyes. And that's without even being upscaled. I mean, it's so realistic. It actually has like her mascara here in the corner of her eye, which, if you've ever worn mascara, you know that's a real problem. So I like how it's adding in those imperfections to make it even more realistic on the image. Beautifully brought in the blue and the purple being iridescent here on her little staff and her robe, has the metallic background. Overall, great image there. So let's take those same prompts over into Leonardo. And I'm going to come into the image creation. And I'm going to use Phoenix because that's their foundational model. In my opinion, it generates the best images right off the bat with just one prompt. And I'm going to turn the prompt enhance off so that we're comparing apples to apples here. And for the preset, I'm going to go ahead and put the preset on cinematic. And for the contrast, I'll leave it on high. And since we're comparing this to the Flux 1.1 Pro, which is the top tier version there, we're going to use the top tier over here and hit ultra instead of quality. I'm going to make sure my size is sized the correct way that we had it over there. So the 16:9. And then I'm going to bring those same prompts in. Now remember that the images that I just created over on Flux cost me 120 of my 18,000 monthly credits, whereas this one is costing me 30 out of my 25,000 monthly tokens over on Leonardo. So I'm going to go ahead and generate that first one and the second one and the third one. So if we pull up this first one here, it gave us the enchantress and it actually gave us two wizards. So one holding each hand, but you can see that the hands are really very kind of jumbled together here, especially over here. It looks like he's clasping both hands around her hand. So that's just like a ball of hands over here. And same over here, not as bad, but it is a weird positioning on her hand here. So that would take quite a bit of work to fix this one up, whereas the Flux image really just needed to be upscaled to be usable. Here we go with the second one. So she does have an extra finger over here. Now, keep in mind that I did not apply a negative prompt inside of Leonardo as I normally would to correct the hands, which can be done right down here. Because there is no negative prompt button over on Flux, and I really want them to be equal in the comparison of what we're doing here. So I will say, even though both of her hands are messed up, I do like the overall look of this gown a lot better. And I think she has a really cool staff over here with the starry background behind her. Leonardo does cosmic backgrounds amazingly. There's just something about it that it is producing beautiful images from space. It also made the character an older enchantress, which is very interesting. But if you look, the detail on the skin is impeccable. I mean, that is very realistic if you were to look at it. If these hands were corrected up, that could look like a picture of your grandma dressed up for Halloween. The third one here, we have that purple and blue iridescent look really shining through on her robe. The metallic background is there. She has a staff. Skin texture, very realistic. Little bit of problems with the eyes here that I think would be cleared up once I ran it through the upscaler. Okay, so next I want to talk about the style, color, and lighting along with the camera settings that are over here. So, what I did is I went ahead and I came in and I ran a prompt for each one of the styles, color, lighting, and camera so that we could take a quick look at what it's producing here. I used the theme of the Enchantress creating her witch's brew on all of these images to see what we could come up with. So first I chose photo, and you can see at the top here which style it is on. You can tell obviously that came out looking much like a photograph of her being taken in the forest, but it did bring in that sort of very vibrant glow and neon to the actual witch's brew that she has there. Next up is illustration. Obviously, it just turned it into an illustrated image. So, this would be great if you were doing like a storybook or if you wanted to have like some rough draft tattoos drawn, anything like that. That would be great for that. Next up, we have 3D. So, you can see here that it really tried to make the bottle of her brew three-dimensional. It put a little bit more depth on the characters in the background. Definitely added in some three-dimension aspect with putting her hat the way that it did there. So overall, that's a pretty cool image. I made all of these on Flux Fast. So if you consider that each one of these images was made for 5 credits in a matter of seconds, it is absolutely stunning how fast Flux is working and how affordable it is to ideate in here. I definitely would add this to my creator's toolbox as an ideation tool for the Flux Fast that would be comparable to something like Playground right now, as far as how many images you actually get to generate. The next one we have here is Cartoon Fun. This one would be great if you were animating like children's stories or if you had some illustrations you wanted to put in a book, something like that. This setting is perfect for that. Next up, we have comic. Obviously, if you're into comic books, you get that this is going to make images that are perfect for your comic strips or for comic book characters. Then we have dark, which is very comparable to the moody over on Phoenix. Or if you were to turn the dark arts element on one of your other presets, you're going to get an image similar here. So you can see just like more of a dark overall gothic vibe there. And then watercolor looks like a beautiful painting straight off of a wall here. The lighting is beautiful. You can tell the texture of the brush stroke in there really pops off of the image. And then we have pixel art. This is great if you're doing retro gaming design or anything like that. Followed up by Surreal. I've found myself using this one the most in the Flux Fast with my image generation because I love that kind of infrared photography look of the pinks and the purples and the surrealist, vibrant glows that come through on the images. And I just like the overall dreamy aesthetic of a lot of the AI images. Next up, we have oil painting. This definitely looks like it is an oil painting straight off of a wall somewhere. The only issue I see is her hand here. Maybe she had a pocket in that old dress, but it's not likely. So I'm disappointed in how that arm came out. But for 5 tokens to have one bad one come out of all of these that I ran is not too shabby. Then we have nature. This one definitely brings in more of like the outdoor theme, and you can see it added in like some fairy tale like creatures into the enchanted forest there with her. And then we have ink print. This is great for like dark sketches, and if you're doing like tribal designs or anything like that. I found that I've had a lot of really cool designs come out using this ink print here. Perfect too if you're looking for something that you can print out and add a little bit of color to using a different art medium than the computer digital art. So, like if I were to print this out, I could add a little bit of acrylic paint or even watercolor paint to this, and it would really be a cool image, an art piece all finished up. Then we've got the pencil sketch here, which is, as it says, pretty basic. It looks like it was sketched out with a pencil. And then we have the pastel, which again brings in those kind of light, wispy colors. You can see in the light flowers, the beautiful linen of her dress here being that light pastel pink. Even the sky with the sunrise or sunset behind her is adding in a lot of that pastel color. And then we have black and white. So obviously, black and white, from what I've seen in my experience of creating with this style in here, it really does come out like a black and white photograph more than like just a black and white printed image. Then we've got our golden glow for the color here. And you can see, obviously, it just added in a lot of golden hues. The rays from the sun comes in with more gold. We've got the gold stars. The gold really glowing and emanating from inside of her body there is a cool effect. I have noticed that it says that images might be explicit on here. And when I actually show the image, it's not explicit at all. But it did only give her 3 fingers and like a little nub here with her thumb holding that. So I'm not really impressed by that image. But the vibrancy of her purple hair and the background really stands out. I like that a lot. I do wish that you could combine these styles a little bit more on here. Okay, and then we've got our cold neon, which you can see it brought in a lot of the neon glow on her jacket, the neon on the brew here, neon on the signs. Iridescent brings in the iridescent glow and more of the shimmery. This is perfect for the magical images. The little light up glowing iridescent spots on her dress were added. Dramatic for the lighting obviously is going to create a dramatic scene. So put her in the dark with kind of that spotlight, drop light effect on her there. Overall, a dramatic image. It's going to pull in more blacks, obviously, more darker colors. Long exposure here, you can see where it looks like her magical orb lights have really been following a pattern in the sky here. And you can see like the trace of the light for the long exposure, the swirl of her dress, almost as if she's in motion without putting motion on the image. Indoor light, obviously, it tries to put them indoors. Again, it did mess up the hand here on this one quite a bit. It just gave her half of a finger with a ring, but this hand is perfect, so that's nice. And the way that she's pouring that, she's obviously very delicately holding that cup, but the indoor lighting comes in with the candlelight here reflecting off, the light behind her being pulled in. You can really see a soft glow of the light on the reflection of her hair inside here. And then we have high flash. So obviously this one is very dark on the background scene, but it does look like it has a high flash on the image. Lots of unnecessary fingers here and an extra thumb that I don't really think we want in the image. But overall, the way that it got Witch's Brew correct on her bottle here is pretty cool being on Flux Fast. So for 5 credits to get correct font is pretty impressive. And then we have neon here. Obviously, that's going to be neon lights in the background, neon on here, neon on the reflection. It's pretty much self explanatory on that one. And then we have the camera styles. So we've got the portrait, which is going to be a close up as though you were having a professional photography portrait done. Detail in the face and the eyes seem to be very highly realistic when you use this, especially on the Flux Realism. If we zoom in here for 5 credits, that's pretty good. Next up, we have the low angle. So that is as though the photographer was laying on the ground, taking the shot up, or, from below her, taking the angle there. Then we have the mid shot, which kind of just puts her in the middle of the image and brings in the background and the surroundings on both sides of her. And then the wide shot, which really adds in a lot more of the background. There's way more people. There's a lot more hands and glasses than there are actual bodies. So that's interesting. But you can tell the depth of field is made to be extended in the background there as though it is a wider shot. Then we have the tilt shot here, which I thought that this one came out really cool in the actual aesthetics of the image. So I did take this one and work with this one quite a bit to make some really awesome magical shots. And then finally, we have the aerial version. So this is just like a drone or a photographer up on a high ladder taking a picture down on the enchantress. Now, let's talk about text. So we'll come back up here to the top and let's just go ahead and stick with this prompt that I already have for them holding the sign. And I'll just put that back in the prompt box here. And it did say that Flux was good with text. So we're just going to go ahead and choose Flux and knock that down to 1 again. And I'll change this back to the row generation so it's a little easier for us to see as it's created here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the photo off because I don't want any styles on this. And then I'll go ahead and generate. Let's generate a couple of these just to see if there's any improvement as we continue generating the same prompt. So you'll notice that if you generate a second time, it keeps it in that same panel. So you know that the same settings were used. So we'll go ahead and we'll do 4 of those. And let's see here. If we look at the prompt, we've got 5 stunning enchantresses. So we'll see if it gets that right. Each one is supposed to have a luminescent skin tone ranging from soft blue to radiant purples. They should be in the digital realm with swirling clouds of iridescent pixels and shimmering lines of code. And they should be holding a sign that reads the real AI agents. So let's see here. There's no code or any kind of creativity based on that. There are 5 characters, which is impressive. Unfortunately, though, it added in a comma here. I'm not really sure why it did that, but the lettering is correct. So if I took that out, the real AI agents is all spelled correctly. Got a little bit of a jumble here on the hands and up here with this hand. All of their expressions are kind of blank and lifeless. So I don't know that that is an image that I would use right off the bat. The second one it generated here, again, we have 5 enchantresses, so that got that correct. It didn't give them the glowing skin tones I was hoping for, although it did give them the variations of the hair color, which is nice. The hands are at least better over here. This image would not take near as much work. All I would need to do with this is throw it in the upscaler. On the next one here, we can see again, there are 5 enchantresses, so it did a good job there. But it left out the word real. So the AI agents isn't going to work for me. So that image is automatically out. Since I'm not going to waste time trying to tweak this and I don't want it to clutter up my feed, I can come up here to the 3 buttons and just hit delete. So that's important to know. The next one here, we've got the 5 enchantresses again. Little bit of some jumbleness and extra fingers and such on the sign here, which I could either leave those hands or I could remove those. The text is correct, the real AI agents, so that's pretty impressive. It did adhere to the prompt pretty well, except that it left out the lines of code and some of the fun things that I was hoping that it would add into it based on the prompt that it was given. So if I come over just to compare that to Leonardo, the image generator in Leonardo that works with the text is still going to be Phoenix. So I'm going to leave it on Phoenix there. And I'm just going to set it on dynamic because that's a pretty run of the mill preset there. If you want to know more about Leonardo and how to use it, I have a ton of tutorial videos linked in the description of this video. There's a playlist, so you can find all of those there to learn all about how to make master level images inside of Leonardo AI. But let's go ahead. I'm just going to leave it on quality for this one since I'm not on the Flux Pro 1.1 over there. I'm just on Flux. And we'll go ahead and generate that. And again, we'll give it 4 times, just like we did on the other one. So altogether, it is going to cost us 60 tokens to do these. So altogether, out of those 4 generations I did on Flux, I got 1 image here that I could clean up and actually use in something. And those 4 images cost me, so that's 160 credits to generate those 4. And I ended up scrapping 1. And honestly, these other 2 could be scrapped as well because this one is really the only one that I would even bother tweaking up to be a good image. Let's see what we got over here on Leonardo. So it did get the 5 agents there correct. 4 fingers, 4 fingers, 4 fingers, and 4 fingers. That's impressive. The skin tones, it did try to vary them from the blue to the purple. So I would say it definitely did a better job there. Much more what I was envisioning with the code in the clouds back here in the background. So overall, usable image on that first one there for Leonardo. And that cost me 15 tokens over there to generate. The next one here, it looks like we've got 7 enchantresses instead of the 5 that we had prompted for. I do like how it added in a little bit more of the diversity on the character, although it didn't really go with what I was hoping for with the kind of otherworldly luminescence to their skin there. Background, again, awesome on that background. So if I needed an image with more characters, I could use this one, but it's not adhering to the prompt the way that I needed it to with the 5 agents. We come up here to the next one. We see we do have 5 agents in here. It does have the various skin tones that I was looking for. She has extra fingers up here though, so that's not going to work right off the bat, but I could erase hers there and just have these holding the sign. That probably would be doable. The background is what I was looking for there. And then on the last one, again, it threw in too many enchantresses, has a cool background. Everything is spelled correctly. So if we look, it is actually spelled correctly on every single one of the 4 images there for the sign. But there's only 2 that actually have 5 characters. So I got 2 usable ones out of Leonardo for what I actually needed there for a cost of 30 tokens versus getting 1 for the 160 tokens over on FreePik. Just something to keep in mind if you are using text and want good prompt adherence on what you're doing here. Leonardo definitely tends to lean more towards the creative side when you're looking for more going on in the image and a little bit less of the photorealism, more of the design feature. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end. As a little thank you, I've put together a downloadable guide packed with all the tips and tricks I've discovered while experimenting with Flux, Flux Realism, and Flux 1.1 Pro. This guide is designed to help you create even more incredible images with Flux, whether you're new to the platform or looking to refine your skills. And the best part, I'm giving it to you for free, just for checking out this video today. All you have to do is sign up to our email list using the link in the description, or if it's easier, just drop your email in the comments and the words "guide please," and we'll send you a copy. Also, if you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the Real AI Agents. And turn those notifications on so you don't miss out on our future AI tutorials and creative projects. My name's Jessica with the Real AI Agents, and as always, keep looking towards the future.